In Supermax, time does not pass. It settles. Like dust on concrete. There are no crowds here. No cafeteria noise. No line of men waiting to be served. Meals arrive through a steel slot in the door. A rectangular opening. 6 inches tall. 18 inches wide. Just enough for a tray to slide through. Nothing more. Not even a glimpse of who placed it there. The tray hits the floor with a dull plastic thud. No words. No eyes. No human presence. Just food and the silence. Supermax does not just cage bodies. It cages senses. Taste. Smell. Touch. Hunger. Even hunger must be controlled. The food comes on a tray molded from one piece of plastic. No separate compartments that lift. No removable pieces. Everything fused together, like prison itself. The main portion is always the same shape. A kind of rectangle of protein that does not resemble meat, though the paperwork insists it is. Some call it soy loaf. Some call it mystery brick. Most simply call it the block. Next to it is a scoop of vegetables that have long since surrendered their colors. Carrots the shade of old light bulbs. Green beans that no longer remember the word green. Corn that tastes like it has been boiled of memory. Then there are the potatoes, or something that claims to be potatoes. Mashed but not smooth. Thick but not filling. Warm but not comforting. The portion is calculated. Calories are counted. Macronutrients balanced. Not to nourish, but to sustain the body at the lowest acceptable level. Enough to prevent collapse. Not enough to spark life. Supermax meals are designed to keep a man alive, but not living. The smell of the tray fills the cell slowly. Not sharp, not foul, just present. Like a reminder that life continues whether a man wants it to or not. In here, the tray is the only routine. 3 times a day. 6:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m., 4:30 p.m. The hours never change. The guards never say a word. The metal never stops humming. There is no choice. No menu. No preferences. If a man is allergic, he learns not to be. If a man is vegetarian, he learns to forget. If a man is Muslim, Jewish, or Christian and requests religious accommodations, the system might adjust the protein, but the feeling remains the same. Food without dignity. Some prisoners eat the tray immediately. Quick bites. Efficient. Mechanical. No thought. No taste. Others stare at it for hours. Not because they are not hungry, but because eating means accepting where they are. In a place where every choice is taken away. Deciding when to eat becomes one of the last acts of control. But hunger is patient. It waits. Eventually, the tray wins. The first bite always tastes the same. Nothing. Not bland. Not mild. Nothing. Like chewing on absence. Then comes the bread. Always the bread. A small, thick piece. Never fully fresh. Never fully stale. A texture that exists somewhere between memory and punishment. A man tears it slowly. Not to savor it, but to make the meal last longer. Because the tray is not just food. It is time. It is something to do. Something to feel. Something to break the endlessness of concrete and fluorescent light. Eating becomes a ritual. A ceremony of survival. Because in Supermax, you do not fight to live. You fight to remember living. The tray sits on the floor. The man sits on his bunk. The walls do not move. The air does not change. But something inside him shifts. Slowly. Quietly. Eventually. He learns to swallow without tasting. He learns to accept without feeling. He learns to exist without wanting. This is the first lesson of Supermax. Hunger is not the absence of food. Hunger is the memory of life before walls. Hunger changes a man. Not quickly. Not suddenly. But slowly, the way rust eats metal. Quiet. Patient. Certain. In Supermax, there are no shared tables. No split meals. No laughter. No casual arguments over who gets the last piece of bread. There is only the individual and the tray. But even here, food becomes currency. Because when everything is taken from men, they rebuild value from whatever remains. A packet of salt from breakfast can become a treasure. A peanut butter cup can become a weapon of diplomacy. A small carton of fake orange drink, sugar thick and chemical bright, becomes celebration. The economy of hunger does not depend on money. It depends on need. And every man in here needs something. There is the lifer who trades his bread for instant coffee, because caffeine reminds him of mornings when the sun used to touch his skin. There is the fighter who trades his dessert for extra vegetables, because he fears what his rage might do if left hungry. There is the quiet one, the one who speaks to no one, writes no letters, receives no visits, who trades nothing, because he is nothing. In Supermax, silence is the most expensive currency. The guards do not monitor trades. They do not speak of them. They don't need to. The walls do the watching. When food becomes currency, it stops being food. It becomes leverage, power, comfort, control, hope. Sometimes a man will save half his bread and hide it in a sock beneath his mattress. Not to eat later, but to know that later exists. Because sorrow is easier to endure when tomorrow holds even the smallest thing to look forward to. But there is danger in saving. Bread molds. Crackers soften. Fruit ferments. And when guards find it, they confiscate it, not because of cleanliness or policy, but because stored food is stored control. Control belongs to the institution, never the inmate. So men get smarter. They dry bread on the air vent until it becomes hard enough to survive weeks. They scrape spices from ramen packets and hide the powder inside folded letters. They learn that flavor, even in grains, is memory. Because taste is more than taste. Taste is childhood. Taste is family. Taste is freedom. And freedom, in here, is contraband. When a man has been locked away long enough, memory becomes a battlefield. The system wants the memories to fade, wants taste to blur, wants hunger to become routine, not longing. Because a man who forgets the world outside is easier to contain. But some memories refuse to die. A man will close his eyes and taste his grandmother's Sunday stew, not on his tongue, but in his bones. Another will remember the crackle of bacon in a kitchen filled with laughter. Not in smell, but in spirit. Another will remember the sound of ice clinking in a glass on a summer day. Not in touch, but in absence. Every bite of flavorless food in Supermax is a reminder. You have lived before this. You have been loved before this. You have tasted joy before this. And that is where the suffering sharpens. Because they can take the knife, the fork, the table, the flame. But they cannot take the memory of taste. So the institution does something more subtle. They try to make memory stop hurting by drowning it in routine. Same tray, same schedule, same silence, day after day after day, until a man no longer remembers what good food tastes like. And when taste disappears, joy follows. This is the hidden punishment of Supermax. Not the cell. Not the isolation, not the quiet. The punishment is the erasure of craving. Because when a man stops craving life, he stops fighting to return to it. Time passes in Supermax in a way that does not feel like time at all. Days are not days. Nights are not nights. There is only waking and waiting, breathing and remembering, enduring, without knowing what you are waiting for. And then one day, the door opens. Not dramatically. Not with applause or revelation. Just a sound. A hinge. A command. Pack up. No explanation. Freedom does not arrive with celebration. Freedom arrives with confusion. You are processed out with the same efficiency used to process you in. Forms. Signatures. Instructions spoken too quickly to absorb. Your clothes feel strange on your body. Your shoes feel too soft. Your eyes hurt in the sunlight. And then, suddenly, you are sitting at a table. A real table. Not steel. Not concrete. Not attached to the floor. A restaurant. A diner. Someplace ordinary, but overwhelming. The menu in front of you might as well be written in another language. So many choices. Too many choices. Because in prison, choice itself is a memory. The waiter asks what you'd like. You pause. Not because you don't know, but because you do. You know exactly. Something simple. Something human. Something remembered from before the walls. A real meal. Maybe it's a burger. Maybe it's fried chicken. Maybe it's a plate of eggs, toast, bacon, and hot coffee. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is what it represents. The plate arrives. Not in a tray. Not in sections. Not under plastic. Not prepared in silence. Steam rises. Color appears, real color, not the dull gray-brown of institutional food. Hands tremble. Not from hunger, but from returning. The first bite is not just taste. It is memory. It is childhood. It is holidays. It is family tables and open windows and laughter from rooms you forgot you remembered. It is the smell of kitchens you once stood in. The sound of pans you once washed. The warmth of being among people, not just bodies, but people. Flavor does not just touch the tongue. It breaks something open. Men cry here. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. A tear slipping down while chewing slowly. Because the mind has finally been reminded. I am still a person. No one at the table understands. They may see emotion. They may see relief. They may see gratitude. But they do not see the battlefield behind the eyes. They do not see the years of tasteless meals, the quiet swallowing of dignity, the hunger that was not hunger, but emptiness, the war against forgetting who you were before the chains. They do not see the nights where flavor existed only in dreams. They do not see the way memory was almost erased. They do not see how close the system came to winning. Because when a man forgets what joy tastes like, he forgets how to fight for his life. But this bite, this first bite, is rebellion. It is resurrection. It is the return of something sacred. Appetite. Appetite is not just hunger. Appetite is desire. Appetite is belief. Appetite is the ability to imagine a future. A man who has appetite again is alive again. The restaurant is quiet. The plate is warm. The flavor is overwhelming. And the man who has endured isolation, tasteless food, routine silence, and the slow erosion of identity takes another bite. Slower this time. Tasting it fully. Feeling it. Remembering himself. And somewhere deep inside, deeper than words, something whispers. Welcome back. Not the world. Not society. Not freedom documents, but the self. The self that survived being starved to joy. The self that refused to die quietly. The self that held on even when holding on was invisible. Because, in the end, food in prison is not just food. It is control. It is currency. It is memory. It is identity. It is punishment. It is resistance. But food outside prison? Food outside prison is something else entirely. It is forgiveness. It is restoration. It is life returning. One bite at a time.